What's up, Jamie? What's up, Vast Galaxy? This is Brad Leitner and Jamie Bruce, your hosts into the Great Wide Opens. We've been away for a little while in the Great Wide Opens. We did a little stray cast last week, and now we're back to Into the Great Wide Opens. I hope everyone's having a great time. Let's get her started right away. We got an awesome guest tonight, Brett Cannon, a hammer from Texas. He guides down there and also is in the top 10 in the elite qualifiers right now. How's it going, Brucey?
Passing the baton already, eh, bud? Good job on the intro, though. I was into it. I'd bite if I was listening to this podcast.
Awesome.
I see you got a nice tall girl beverage.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the basement, and the Seth was fishing with Foley a couple weeks ago, and he brought like a lot of refreshments. We have our choice from about anything.
Tin cup heavy. I like it.
Tin cup heavy. We're not going to be silver in this house.
All right. Well, what's been happening, bud?
Oh, just kind of going through the boat, trying to figure out what I'm going to need for the next leg of our adventure. I think I'm going to leave next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. When do we start practice? Next Friday or something?
I don't know, man. I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. We'll look at it when it's closer, but I think it's just the normal Saturday. And
oh, it is. I thought we start this one early. I thought because it's back to back.
No, I think we start the next one late.
You better check your schedule.
If I will say though, if someone from the Opens is leaning on this podcast for actual structural information, you're probably in more trouble than you think. Well, we're gonna dive into it. People kind of wonder how we pick our guests on this show, and we've been hit up a couple times, but we want to talk to someone and kind of get the backstory and people that we want to talk to. We don't want to just talk to whoever's killing it. We don't want to talk, talking to a lot of guys is like talking to a damn ham sandwich. I don't want any part of that. So I think we got a good guest lined up for tonight. We've been trying to get him on for a little bit. And he's a busy man, so we're lucky to have him, and I think we should haul him in here, buddy.
Let's get him in here. He is a fun guy to talk to, so it should be a great night.
Right on.
There's a moment when you're faced with a challenge, and just solving the problem isn't good enough, even if that means breaking the rules and shredding apart conventional ways of thinking, all in the name of creating something truly remarkable. With this much control at its command, we didn't stop with just one. We created two incredible trolling motors. Introducing the new Power Pole Move brushless trolling motor.
This is the mountain, and this is mountain whiskey. Unspoiled, untamed, forever wild. There's no safety net, no way down. Up here, it's just man, and the mountain, and his tin cup. Tin Cup Whiskey. Mountain Whiskey.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, buddy.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made, every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, Power Bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
There he is.
Cheers.
What's going on, guys?
Welcome to Into the Great Wide Opens.
Thank you for having me.
Super stoked to have you on. You're kind of like a living legend down in Texas, and now you're kind of going across the country and kicking everyone's ass. So excited to have you on.
Thank you guys for having me, man. I wouldn't know about living legend. No, not so much in Texas, not at all. I'm just a sponge trying to soak everything up and trying to get better every day. That's it.
I like it. We got a can-do attitude here, Brad. And sorry for the delay, bud. Brad cannot figure out wires. I just had him on my podcast, Get the Net, last night. Same issue. Had all day to tackle it. No, exact same.
Hey, I will tell you a story. I actually came home early today. I was messing with it. I moved my camera over a little bit in the top of my computer. The camera was not working yesterday. And then, so I got that over. So I thought I was set. I thought I was in like Flint. And then there's some kind of blocker in there or something. I don't know what Ninja's sending me.
Well, you probably got a webcam from 96, like the old portable rig.
I just bought this thing last year. It's not even a year old.
Yeah,
I better upgrade.
Brett, I did a little creeping on you, a little background. That's not really Brad's style. So
No.
I looked into you quick and saw you had a background in in kind of content creation and some audio, video, stuff like that. So you're probably just cringing watching Brad fumble with his webcam.
Man,
Thanks, Brucey.
No, not at all, man. I know Bear. Like, I let all the cameras do the work and computers and stuff, but I'm not tech savvy really either. And honestly, it's pretty bad that I'm not. I probably should be a lot better. But no, man, I get to work with some amazing guys, and it's how I got my foot into the outdoor spaces. We were trying to film like an outdoor TV show back in the day, mostly hunting and a little bit of fishing back in Florida. So it's kind of how I got the itch for photography and content creation and stuff like that.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2009, maybe 2008, 2009. Yeah. So I have videos of one of my biggest regrets is not doing like a YouTube series, because I have content from like 2008, 2009, catching sailfish, been in Costa Rica, Dominican Republic. I've had marlin catches. I got like all kinds of bass fishing stuff. Like, man, I just was lazy and never did anything with it. Now I'm like, that'd been pretty cool if I would have just kept going, because we were trying to film for like a TV show. We were trying to talk with the Outdoor Channel, and man, my first sponsor ever was Realtree, and they were on board for us. It was called Killing It Outdoors, and man, a couple young kids that all we wanted to do was be outside. Hunting, fishing, didn't matter. We would go straight from sail fishing on the Florida coast to alligator hunting at night. And man, we filmed everything. And it kind of led me into this whole thing. But I kind of wish I saw some of these archives and all these videos. I want to create like a really cool video of all that stuff back in the day. But yeah, that's kind of what got me kind of understanding the value of content and kind of getting myself ahead of the game when it came to like sponsors and stuff like that.
Yeah. So when you say it was because of laziness that you didn't start a YouTube channel, that's what a lot of people used to say. But like around 08, 09, it was because you didn't want to get chirped by the industry and you didn't want to get chirped by your buddies. That's why I didn't start one until like 2020, and I see you're sponsored by Guggen, and you do some work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, John B. and Peric, they used to come up to where I live, up in the middle of nowhere, and I actually went on like a crazy backcountry tour with John, and he was doing like his YouTube pursuits, and I was like, man, these poor bastards are driving all the way up here to go just destroy themselves in the middle of nowhere. I was like, I live here. Like, you can just do it. And, came way late to the party, and you know how hard it is to grow now. But I remember at the start, I was like, well, the first 6 people that are going to watch this are going to be my chirping buddies, and I'm going to get lit up.
That's all. I was like, who am I? One of my biggest things was like, who am I to tell these people or try to teach them or doing it? Like, who am I? Like, I was like, man, I'm not anybody. I'm just going to have fun. Like, I didn't think that anybody would want to watch it because it's like, who is this guy? But you didn't need it to be anybody to have your own YouTube channel. And I realized that later in life because I was like, because I always looked up to like Michael Waddell's and the guys that are on actual TV. And I was like, man, these guys are like, I didn't want to feel like I was just chasing clout and videoing myself, like trying to, because I think it's kind of how a lot of them got famous is they just loved watching themselves and it just blew up. And now they're like these huge stars. So I don't know. I just didn't want to be that person, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I hear you there. I knew it wasn't from laziness because I know you ain't lazy.
Yeah.
You're a triathlete or something like that.
Yeah, that was back in my younger, dumber days, I guess, putting my body through the ringer.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that can't hurt on the bass fishing front. Like, especially with this back-to-backer coming up, Watts Bar and Ozarks. Like, I'm about ready to perish. I got some icy cold sims. It's actually cool to the touch gear. I called up Pete and was like, dude, like, I'm 30 pounds overweight and I'm from the middle of nowhere in Canada. Like, I'm going to physically die. And he's like, don't worry, bud. We'll cool your ass down. So I got some of that to survive. But I'm sure it helps being in shape.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not in shape right now by any means, but I was kind of in a rut spot in my life when I was living in South Florida, kind of like it just needed a mental toughness. I don't know, a mental break or something to kind of get me back in the track. And I was like, man, train 4 hours a day and complete an Ironman, the hardest thing you're ever going to do in your life. You kind of figure out who you are about mile 20 into a 70-mile race that takes you 6.5 hours to complete. It's like, all right, mile 20, I wanted to quit, but I finished it. And it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. But, and then coming to right now, like when I go guide on Ivy, my goal is to get my client on the biggest fish of their life. And there's a morning bite and an evening bite. So I'm literally in 110-degree weather out there from daylight till dark right now. So I'm and it's 110. So I'm like, this heat's not going to do anything to me.
Yeah. So it'll be like a break for you the next 2 opens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It'll be like 90, which is be like, oh, that's nice.
You might need long johns. You might be freezing.
Yeah, I know.
Winter jacket. Yeah.
I noticed one of your big sponsors is a hydration brand, water. I don't know if you have part in the company or anything, but man, I I got a funny story about that. So on the way down to Eufaula, Oklahoma, I stayed at one of my retired NHL buddies' houses on the way. He lives in Minneapolis, Dustin Bufflin. And I was like, I'm going to die in the heat. Like, I need something to I got to figure this rig out. So I show up with all this stuff and he's like, dude, put all that shit away. Like, my trainer would just laugh at you. Like, that doesn't do anything. So I listened to him and I got down there and I was like, yeah, I listened to Bufflin about that. Cause I was like, well, this guy is going to know, like he's was like the biggest player in the NHL. He'd know how to hydrate, and I didn't listen to him. And like the first couple days in Oklahoma, I was like, I'm gonna die. And I just tried some, and I was like, okay, this stuff is legit. So I mean, it's kind of cool that you have a background in that, and that's one of your sponsors, because that is a necessity that's being overlooked. I think if you want to touch on that for a second, we'll give you an opportunity for a plug. What
brand were you using? Do you remember?
The stuff I was using worked. My buddy talked me out of using it. It was BioSteel.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, training the Ironmans, the number one thing you need is like sodium to help you, keep your water in your body, so you don't just retain water through your muscles when you have sodium. So when I train those Ironmans, like when you're on your bike for 50 something miles and it's so hot, like when you start taking these supplements that are real salty and taste like you're drinking the salt water, right? You like upsets your stomach, doesn't taste very well. So John Hunter, actually, BBT, I don't know, you guys know John Hunter and I. Yeah. So John Hunter and I, we started this company, and it's just water nutrition. It stands for water additive to rehydrate. It's all natural. It's got all the electrolytes, everything you need, some vitamins. We have 3 different flavors and profiles. Yeah, I mean, our reviews are amazing, right? But we're just 2 fishermen trying to start up a supplement brand, and it needs funding. We'll get traction, and then we're kind of just, it's hard, right? Because there's a lot of fishermen don't realize how important it is to stay hydrated and actually their health, right? So it's like on these long days, the only way I get through all these long days is through that supplement water, so I mean, these guys live on Mountain Dews and cigarettes pretty much.
That's a green diesel, baby.
Yeah. So if they can see, like, in decision making and all that, it's just like fueling your body, right? So if you're not running right, you're not going to think right, you're not going to make the right decisions. So I'm trying to just teach everybody, even the clients that get on my boat and they love it and they go and buy it. But yeah, it's water nutrition. If you're suffering from hydration, not getting enough sleep, or you feel like you got headaches throughout the day, like my buddy Kyle Hall, for example, I mean, he drinks like 400 Dr. Peppers a day. He started drinking it. He was getting headaches. He's like, why do I have headaches every day? I'm like, because you don't drink water. And he started drinking the stuff and drinking water, and his headaches go away. So it's like, I mean, once you start getting these people on board, I mean, you can look at our reviews. It's amazing. I mean, I've had people that are like, dude, you've got my fiance off Red Bulls. You've done this, you've done that. And it's really cool to see that we're helping out slowly. Yeah.
No, that's cool, man.
My number one question, can I mix it with 10 cup whiskey?
I can do whatever you want.
Okay. We're
guaranteed no hangover, Brad. Try it tonight.
Lee Livesey's a friend of mine too, and he drinks. We have a Revive and a Live. There's a red and a blue packet, and he mixes them together called Superman, because we all know that he loves to drink a lot of Busch Lights. And and when you hang out with him, if you do not have the water supplement, you are going to be hurting the next day, because it's a very, very good hangover cure. I know at ICAST last year, all the guys, I'd have a backpack of it, and all the guys would come up to me and were like, because when you're at ICAST, you meet all your contacts, and you really want to go and hang out with your sponsors at night. That's when you get all your stuff done, and you like to have a few adult beverages, and that next day you're walking that show, and you're
I can't believe I haven't seen you the last 2 years in ICAST. You could have helped me with many hangovers. Dang it.
Well, now don't worry, I got you.
Okay, I'm gonna look for you.
You covered, bud. But yeah, I mean, that's something I figured we had to bring up.
I appreciate it.
Shared my little story there, and man, bunch of spinnerbait slinging bubbas. Like the knowledge really isn't there in bass fishing, so kind of cool to get a different perspective on it that you don't really see often. And I was telling Brad this last night, but like, I just poured concrete all weekend into like hauling it in a 5-gallon pail, 200 yards away into sono tubes, like grunt work, dark to dark. And I got to go fishing on Sunday, and I went fishing and did a video for this lodge up north. And, I fished while I drove there, fished dark to dark, and my back hurt. Like I was destroyed. And I was like, well, like, when it's big water out there, like you're pulling on muscles you never pulled on before. And people don't realize like how hard it is on your body, especially when you're scoping and like different, big waves, and it is physically demanding. So I think you're seeing a big shift. You're seeing guys wear tennis shoes instead of flippy floppies, and you're seeing more ergonomic graph mounts and everything. And I might be pulling you for a few questions as we go here about that stuff.
Yeah, I'll get y'all some in the mail tomorrow. Actually,
oh, that'd be awesome.
Harris. Yeah, I'll get you some. I'll get y'all some to try out. You let me know what you think.
All right, beauty, bud.
Or I'll just give it to you at the next event.
Yeah, I'll probably sink your company trying to ship it up here to the middle of nowhere. You got to go through some borders and.
Yeah, I'll probably just give it to you at the next event.
Yeah, right on. I'll bring you some Smeltinator jigs.
Awesome.
Do a trade off.
There you go. Heck yeah.
I don't have anything to trade really, just knowledge, and my knowledge is pretty poor. So
Hey,
Sure.
looks like you got some ducks hanging up back there, man. I'm a big hunter.
Those are
Oh,
fighters
yeah.
ducks.
So I've been living in Fighter's basement for a little while. I switch off. I go from Fighter's basement to Matt Robertson's trailer. And yeah, we're actually going duck hunting this weekend. We're going to go shoot some teal and some doves, and we're going with this cool guy that's taking us out by the South Dakota border. So we're pretty stoked to do that. We're kind of in kill mode already.
Yeah, that doesn't suck. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
My shotgun 2 days ago, Brad. I stepped in a groundhog hole in in a tent shed.
Yeah.
Stepped in the groundhog hole and there was a bunch of sonotubes laying there like that had been there for a year. And I picked them all off and was just throwing them out. Like didn't really think much about the groundhog. Thought it was an old hole. And I picked up this big bastard of a 12-inch, 10-foot sonotube, and the giant groundhog, like the size of my black lab, was in it. So I pulled it off. It slid back, looked up, hissed at me, took one step, ran into the damn tent shed door, like was all toiled up, went and got the shotgun, loaded her up with buckshot, and went and cautiously removed the sonotube. I was like, please don't show up because I do not want to shoot this in a damn tent shed.
What's a sonotube?
A big, like a cardboard tube for pouring concrete.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I guess they like when they're whatever, they love culverts and shit like that.
Okay,
You got all kinds of different problems where you're at it. I heard you mention the gator deal, and
That
what's
was
the story there?
So I used to live in South Florida. I actually, before I moved to Texas, I was only 27 minutes from Okeechobee boat ramp, like South End Slim's boat ramp. So, man, I did alligator hunts. I actually I did guided alligator hunts in Florida for probably 3 or 4 years. Did some Osceola hunts, stuff like that, hog hunts. My claim to fame for alligator hunts is I got to take Gary Allen, the country singer, to kill one. He has like a 12-footer that's full body mounted in his backyard of his house in Nashville. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's a magnum too. Did you save it for him?
Yeah,
Did you write a song about it?
No. Man, that was a really cool experience, man. That was awesome. That was one of my, growing up, he was one of my favorite country singers, and to get the call that he wanted to go gator hunting with me, and he brought his Prevost bus to the actual gator grounds, and we drive around these levees, and with the little John boat in the back, and we just spot lot them, and you got to throw a spinning rod with a big treble hook on it, weighted treble hook on like 100-pound Dacron, and you hook them, and then you get the boat in the water, and you're just got an alligator, and they come up and they bite holes in the boat. It's just it's a crazy experience. But yeah, I got to take him, and it was pretty cool. It was really cool.
Have you ever went hog hunting out of a helicopter? That's like my ultimate dream. It's either winning the classic or shooting pigs out of a helicopter. It's pretty neck and neck.
No, I have not. I heard I think it's like $10,000 to go do it. So.
Oh yeah, that's out of my brain. I'm gonna have to win the classic to go hog hunt out of a helicopter.
Here you go. Yeah. No, I don't hog hunt out of helicopters. I'm not.
That's like a super Bubba thing to do, Brad.
Yeah.
No, that's like the coolest thing in the world. You get a shotgun with 50-round clip and you shoot hogs, and you're saving the farmer's plants.
Yeah,
it's
you're doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Oh man, we better move on, dude. How the hell did you end up in the opens? I looked. I saw you fish the Centrals last year, and before that, it was just kind of ghost town. I know you're a guide. I really don't know much about you other than you've got a pretty cool background. So what's the story? Like, how'd you end up here, and what are you chasing?
Yeah, so obviously, growing up, I used to skip school. I played baseball. I used to tell my coaches lies to go fish. I used to take my 2-man boat and put skateboards under it and push it miles to go fish lakes and stuff. I was ate up with bass fishing, always have been, always will be. When you grew up in South Florida, in our times, there was no internet. I didn't know how to even get into the bass, or I thought you had to have to know somebody to even get in. You know what I mean? I had no idea when I was young, but I played college baseball down in Florida, went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School down in South Florida, played baseball at FAU, played a little bit of pro ball, got hurt, and then just kind of got in the real world. And like I said, was telling Brad earlier, like I couldn't afford a bass boat until I was 29 years old. So I always fished Kissimmee, and pretty much always Kissimmee with my older brother. My older brother kind of got me into bass fishing. I was ate up with it. I just loved, after I couldn't play baseball anymore, I really needed that competitiveness, of bass fishing was the only other thing I could do. I wasn't going to be like softball, like my other friends. I just wasn't into softball. So, man, I started fishing dabbling in a few BFLs locally. And then I was dabbling BFLs when I got a boat. And then I got on a professional saltwater team and started traveling the world fishing for billfish. And, I would fish for billfish, and then I would just come back and I'd be like a BFL in Okeechobee, and I'd jump in it with no practice and just kind of like didn't really care. Right? So like if you looked at, I never gave it all because I didn't even know at that point too. I didn't know. I was like, man, these are supposed to be for working class guys. Like I think you just show up and fish them, right? I didn't know like guys were practicing the whole week. I learned that like the hard way. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get smoked by all this, and I started becoming friends with all these guys on Okeechobee, and they're like, oh yeah, they've been fishing the whole week out here finding the fish. I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. You got to practice. Okay. But so I just kind of dabbled a little bit in BFLs, just fish some weekend tournaments, Kissimmee, Okeechobee. That's where I kind of cut my teeth. And then, I've started seeing a little bit of success in BFLs, jumped into a couple Toyotas, got like 5th on a Toyota on Okeechobee. Was working for my father, who owns like an Interstate Batteries distributorship at the time, and kind of got to fish. And then just South Florida wasn't really for me. So I moved to Texas and started working for 6 Cents. And when I started working for 6 Cents, I was like their marketing guy, and I got to go to OHIV and ended up catching that 14-pounder and got to get that 14-pounder. I got the replica mount at the Classic at Ray Roberts. And I was looking on the Classic stage, holding this thing, being like, all right, this is where this is where my childhood, this is where I wanted to be when I was a child. I just didn't know how to get there. So I'm like, now I know what I need to do. I need to jump in the opens. How do I get in the opens? So I call like Lee Livesey, and I traveled with them last year in the opens, and it was more of having fun and kind of goofing off. I tried to win them all, and that was terrible, whatever. Because I didn't, whatever. And then this year, literally like the day it opened, I called Lee and I was like, hey, should I do this or not? Because it's a huge commitment. You know what I mean? Like monetary, like it's expensive. It's like,
yeah, notice that.
Yeah. I'm like, how should I do it? And honestly, Lee really talked me into doing it and making sure he's like, this is your year. You need to do it. Like all the hype, the new format, like you need to do this. And so, yeah, here we are, man. And my whole goal in life is just to fish the Bassmaster Classic. I'm not going to stop until I get there. And my best way to do that is, I guess, being on the elites. But if I have to fish opens and try to win open, like I'll do that too. You know what I mean? Like I just want to fish the Classic.
I got you. You're kind of in the same like realm that I am. Like, there's a lot of people that have just been chasing the elites for years and years and years, and that'd be badass. But it's not like, the Classic is cool too. The experience of fishing 9 opens and traveling all over the place is cool too, especially for some, like we've never done that before.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have never done it before. A lot of the top 20 have, most of them. But yeah, it's kind of like that super carrot, it's just fun to get after.
Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine. I tell you what, man, I got on Eufaula, the first tournament, day 2. I had like 22 pounds or something. And I knew I was one fish away from fishing the class. I'm like, dude, I caught an 8-pounder in practice. I catch another 8. Like, I got a chance. I was getting emotional driving down the lake, going to a spot that I knew I had, like, there were some big ones. And I rolled up to it. I catch a 5.5 on a 10XD. I boat flip it. And I'm like, let's go. Like, screw. I don't even know, like, what
that
happened.
was you that had that?
Yeah,
I
like
heard you.
I got like a tear coming down my eye. I'm like, dude, I'm one fish away from fishing the Bassmaster Classic. So no, that's what I'm rooting for. I actually got emotional too on on Wheeler. First day, I broke off on 2 bigs and I just put myself behind the 8 ball or I don't think that's the right even term, but I put myself in a bad spot and man, the next day I was able to get on my first spot, on my number 1 spot first, and in 4 casts, like 5 casts, I had like 18 pounds for 4 fish, and I was like, dude, I just saved my life. I went from like 146 to 16 in that derby, and just
I talked to you that day for like 10 seconds on the dock.
Yeah,
I was walking past you, and yeah, man, the old boy was cranked up.
yeah. Oh,
I was emotional on Wheeler, but like a sad emotion, more or less.
well, I've had those too, but it was just like, man, it's cool. Like I don't know where else I'd get that feeling, right? Like what else can we do to get those kind of emotions right now? I don't know. Like what
Yeah,
else?
we
in my
just said
life
that
I
last
can do
night
that?
on Get the Net. It was like when you're an adult in your 30s or 40s, like where can you go to find that? And I haven't seen it. I mean, like I don't have any kids yet or nothing like that. So like maybe it comes from watching your kid put a puck in the net or like crack a homer or something like
Yeah,
that. But like, what else can make a grown man scream,
yeah,
let's go? I definitely wouldn't choose those words, but
yeah,
like I would, what,
yeah,
like there's nothing else that fires you up like that. Hunting, there's
yep,
some of that in
Yeah.
hunting,
yep.
big
Yeah, I try
time.
to. I grew up in South Florida around a lot of guys that don't fish, don't hunt. It's like South Florida, it's the city, whatever. And I try to explain to them, like, there, you don't understand the feeling, like catching a 10-pounder in a tournament. I've done it twice in Florida. Like that feeling is crazy. Winning a tournament, I've never won a big tournament, but like winning local turbs, but like pitch baiting a blue marlin, shooting a buck or a elk with your bow, and like catching a giant, or like these tournament experiences. Like those are as an outdoorsman, those are the things that I live for, like that fire me up. And I don't have kids, but I'm sure once I have kids, it's going to be doing that for my kids or watching them do that. But right now, not having kids, like I don't know what else gets me fired up like that.
Yeah, I wonder like what, like, a 9 to 5 or like how they get fired up.
I don't know.
Friday night.
Friday
Yeah.
night, but like, yeah, they're not rolling out of the parking lot like
Yeah.
screaming "Let's
There's
go"
their
out the
sports.
window.
Actually, they're probably big like NFL fans, or
Oh, right, yeah,
probably that's why they're so ate up with their sports teams. Maybe, right? They're
yeah.
not,
No, and I got lots of like supporters and buddies up here that like, they say it all the time, like we're living vicariously through you, and it's like it's actually a thing.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, like just watching it, being a part of it. I know when Gussie won the Classic, like he's one of my best buddies that, drove all night through the snowstorm to get down there, wasn't going to go to the Classic. And when he won that, like I was as fired up as I've ever been in any tournament or anything like that. So you're definitely right. Like watching it makes her, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
I get emotional for guys I don't even know. Like when I watch them on live, and like I get like, it's weird, dude. I don't know if I'm weird. I'm not the only one. I'm like, that's so awesome. Let's go. I don't even know you, but I'm like, this is so cool.
Man, the start of your season was absolutely insane, and it did. I mean, I'll be honest. Milliken threw a big shadow on you.
Yeah.
You guys were tied after 2 tournaments. Both of you guys gave up 6 points in 225 boat tournaments. Like it was absolutely insane. Milliken got that win on Toledo, and that that was awesome, and millions of people were watching it, and it overshadowed your third, your back-to-back third. Like that kind of shit doesn't happen. When that was going down, were you like, I know you fished the Centrals last year, but like after that second, third, were you like, oh, this shit's pretty easy? Or like,
No.
were you like,
No.
everything's lining up for me?
Well, I mean, again, I'm just kind of going with the flow. I mean, but I'll be honest with you, like I graphed forever on Toledo, and I looked and I could not find it offshore. Like, kudos to the guys that showed up all like first day and found all the juice and whatever. But I grabbed forever, ever. I found a couple schools, and then I found a couple like I caught 1 5-pounder, but then I saw Garrett on it like a couple times, and he's like, I caught a 5-pounder there. I'm like, okay, so whatever. But I had a terrible practice, and I literally teach live scope for clients, kind of, because that's how you have to catch bigs on Ivy, like 50 hours a week in my busy season. The first 2 terms was cool. I didn't catch a single bass on live scope. So like when I go to Toledo, I was like, man, I couldn't figure it out. Live scope, and I scoped trees, timber, ledges, things like that, and I just couldn't figure it out. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna go in grass. Just went in the grass, like half day. The second half of the day, I was like, just gut instinct told me to pick up the frog. I had like a couple fish in the box. Dude, I catch like 2 5s and a 6 in about 15 minutes on a frog over some grass. I was like, oh my gosh. Then lose a mega giant on a speed worm type bait, and I was like a giant, like 9+. And then last cast of the day, like a giant 8-pounder comes out of the water, like breaches like a whale over my frog. I'm like, I could have 30 pounds today on a frog. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This all happened like 12 o'clock on. And I had like, I think 22 pounds or something that day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had terrible practice. I didn't catch a bass on a frog the whole practice.
No shit.
I'm like, all right. I was like, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I catch 1 1-pounder on a frog the next day. I only weigh in 4 fish for like 16 pounds. But I ended up catching a couple good ones, lucked out, catch a couple in the grass. And like I said, I only came in with 4 pounds. But then the last day, I caught them in the grass again. And I ended up catching a 7-pounder the second day. I was just cruising, happened to look down, and there was a giant on the bed. I was like, okay, backed up 8 first flip, 7.5, like off a bed. I was like, okay, that's luck, you know what I mean? So that second one, I mean, I caught a couple more on a crankbait, but yeah, I didn't even scope, and I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, I don't even know. Like, I couldn't even explain.
Yeah, that's so wild. Like the guys like Garrett and Milliken, they did, that were crushing it after the first 2, still are. I know McKinney switched it up at Toledo. I saw he was throwing topwater lots, but like everyone's kind of like, oh yeah, those first 2 are like kind of pre-spawn / summer-ish ledge tournaments, and like that's why these guys caught him. But I think you caught him out deep on Eufaula, right? Like deep cranking.
I caught it was one on a 10XD on that one.
Yeah, and then you're fishing dirt shallow and cracking a 7.5-pounder on a bed at Toledo Bend. That's pretty badass, man. You must have felt like Godzilla for a bit there.
Dude, I did, and I had that momentum going, and it just, like I was telling Brad earlier, man, I know everyone loses fish, but I feel like the only event that I have not had the fish to do really, really well, and multiple ones was Eufaula, Oklahoma, but I lost 4 4-pounders on bugs. Like, I catch one of those, I jump another 40, 50 spots. That's how tight that was. So it's just like I've had like really good events, and then just like the wheels fall off, but I'm still managing to being around enough fish that it's not like detrimental. You know what I mean? But gosh, I know like everyone talks about, those seasons where, man, I just couldn't do anything wrong and this and that. But it's like, if I can just, these next 3 events, if I can stay around and consistent around these fish, if I can just average 2 more in a boat, like I'm going to be in the top, I'm going to be where I need to be, I think,
Yeah. And you haven't been to any of these places. Like you've never toured around before or nothing like that. Like you've done the Texas, Florida. Have you like spread your wings a little, or not till this year?
No, I've never fished. I've only fished, only lake I've ever fished in this 9 is Harris Chain, and it's my least favorite lake in Florida. So right. Harris Chain, but yeah, I've fished a lot on Rayburn, but never fished Toledo Bend. So that was my first time ever on Toledo Bend, the first day of practice. So yeah, every lake and I haven't got to pre-practice once, and I haven't been to any of them. And like I was telling Brad, I don't know, like a lot of people have been able to pre-practice and stuff, and I hate feeling like I'm getting out work, so it's like it kills me inside knowing that I got to go work and like
Buddy, I'm right here with you. Like we just talked about how far I am away from all these places and how much shit I got on the go. Like there's been guys that directly after the St. Lawrence stuck around for another, day or two, fish there, directly to Watts Bar before cutoff, then to Ozarks for the week before cutoff there. Now are probably just setting down at the Holiday Inn Express on the Harris chain. And that's what you're up against. But
yeah. Hey,
it is what it is. I mean, it obviously doesn't work for everyone. So, I mean,
I wish
it's those 4.5 days.
I know. I know. I talked to a buddy that was on Watts Bar. He was like, "Man, I've been here for like 8 days, and another guy's been here for 2 weeks already, and we're going to Lake of the Ozarks for 10 days, and then we're going to Harris Chain straight after for another 10 days." And I'm like, I envy you. I wish I could do that. And I wish I was young like you. Yeah. But I got 3 dogs and a fiance and a mortgage payment. And unfortunately, I got to figure out how to pay these bills. That's way too expensive for me.
Yeah, no, I mean that would be the way to make it too, is without relying on that like massive pre-practice and like revolving your life around it. Because at some point, all these 22-year-olds are going to get a wife and kids and a lawn they got to cut and everything like that, and that's going to go away. And you see it in the elite standings. Like there's a lot of guys that once the responsibilities pile on, they shit the bed. So. Yeah. That's kind of the way you got to look at it, because, well, let's be honest, we don't have the option to go down there and pre-practice. So, but they had talked about, I mean, we got that angler survey this week, and we talked about it on Straycast last week. Like, switch the practice to 2.5 days, like make it like the Elite Series. But that if it goes to 2.5 days, like most people that are successful in MLF right now, especially the younger ones, you have to go pre-practice. It's like Jesus. Is nothing exactly. When you've never been to even a similar lake before. So I'm, coming from Canada, I'm obviously happy with the 4.5. That's a pretty good,
I think so. I wish it was I almost wish they would do it like how big the lake is. Cause like Toledo, you need like Toledo's huge, right? But like there's been some lakes where I'm like, day 3, I'm like, man, I kind of figured, I already kind of know where the fish are and what they're doing, and I've kind of looked at everything, and now it just gives so many more times. I'm like, kind of wish like the smaller lakes maybe were like 2 or 3 days, and then the big lakes gave you 4.5 or something. Because there's been a couple of times where I'm like, day 3, I'm like trying to figure out other ways to catch them. I kind of already have my game plan going, but I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. I mean, they've all been pretty big. Like, you follow Oklahoma was like, all right.
That was a little tight.
There were lots of guys that didn't even fish the last 2 days, and they ended up getting their asses kicked. But it was just like, okay, if you want to fish in clearer water, then here's your 2 options, and they're 2 miles long, and you're going to be sharing it with 80 other boats. Yeah. Like I knew every piece of gravel in that stupid whatever that frickin' bay was called that everyone went to.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah, I thought I had it figured out on Eufaula. That was for sure. I thought I was gonna catch them on all the little isolated rock piles, and I was like, man, I got this. This is easy. I did well the first day, and the second day I felt lost. I was like, I'm gonna go to this rock pile. There's 3 people on that one. Go to this. I was like, all right. I don't have the sneaky rock piles. Nope, I do not. I got that one. I was not. Nope.
Yeah,
that one big time.
Yeah, that one, the last day of practice at 11 o'clock, I went way out offshore, like way deeper than a bass should live there, way deeper than any of the locals have ever put a brush pile kind of thing. And I caught a 5-pounder on a mag spoon. And I had been just doing like the shaky head and like just the lame ass stuff, probing the rock piles, probing the brush piles, and just like, okay, I'm just going to be playing musical chairs all weekend and pray to God I get 5 whacks. And that was 11 o'clock. You had to be off at 1. And, you know, I knew that 3/4 of the field was sitting down eating buffalo damn boneless chicken wings at the at the watering hole and tying their rods and everything like that. And I was just like, okay, well, it's a good, you know, backup, and went and ran all those brush piles, and like I started on the spooning hole, nothing. Went and ran all the brush piles, never caught a bass. Went back to the spooning hole at 10, and they had set up on it finally. And the same thing the next day. I was like, I would have been so cooked if I slept in and ate damn eggs Benedict and made sure I had 25 different rods rigged that I'm never going to use.
That's crazy. Yeah, that one spot you found saved. That's awesome. I didn't find that.
Brad slept in that day. Brad was eating eggs Benedict.
I didn't find anything good really. I found that's about it. No, like I had a bad boat number. I was gonna fish on the shoreline of death over there, and man, I was like boat 200, and you couldn't even fit a kayak on that shoreline when I got there. So yeah, there's no bueno.
Yeah, I learned a very valuable lesson on day 2 of that one. I normally keep oil, like a gallon of oil or whatever, in my boat. And for some reason it was in my truck, and my alarm went off on my motor at like 10:30, and it went into guardian mode, and I didn't know really what it was. And I drove in, I figured it was oil, but I didn't have any. So I ran in, called Hank, and I called him. I was able to go get my oil out of the back of my truck, and then I had to put it in the water. I couldn't take my boat out of the water. And I was like, oh, it cost me like an hour and a half, because you know how long that little idle was. And I went by that thing. I was like, at 11:30, I was like, why are there so many boats right here? I'm like, oh gosh. I was like, yep, I missed that one. But
yeah.
Always keep oil in your boat.
Oh yeah.
Tell him the Matt Robertson story.
So Matt Robertson on Lay Lake was like low on oil too, and he was going down the lake, got in guardian mode, saw a guy with a 2-stroke, and he had extra oil, so he dumped some 2-stroke in there to keep her going. But he's like, I would have dumped water in there if I had to.
He said he's done it before.
Yeah, he's done it before. You know, whatever.
We might hurt Maddie's used boat sales here.
Oh no, don't do that.
I was on Kissimmee one time, and man, I had like 4. I think I had 4 in the box for like 27 pounds.
Whoa!
Flipping a jig in Kissimmee on Bird Island. I still remember it. I was running down, and I was headed to. I think I was headed to like Brahma Island or something like that. And I happened to look back. I was like, steering felt weird. My whole steering cable came off, and it's like an oil slick down the lake. And I had to like tighten it back up. I had like some pliers. I tightened it back up, and I put actually engine oil in my steering, where my steering fluid's supposed to go. So engine oil will work for steering fluid, just so you know.
That's good to know. Brucey, you might need that in the last couple events, you know.
What, steering?
Well, if your steering goes out.
Yeah. I watched one of my buddies back here, another retired NHL guy, Mike Richards. We were coming out of a big tournament takeoff in the fall, and he rounded the corner, and his all the hydraulics just pissed out of one of the sides of the steering, and he ran his Ranger right up on the riprap. Like we were one boat behind him. I thought we were going to pull bodies off the riprap. And
that's not good. No, that's
not good. Man, it was terrifying. Don't say that, Brad. Why would you put that? Don't you put that evil on me, Brad?
No, you can just call me. I'll come get you.
Well, I'm hoping it's not going to happen. I got a brand new
no,
right
it won't happen. It's good to know, though. It's good to know these little tricks.
Yeah. Instead of just like going to the service trailer and crying, like there's lots of that. I've noticed those service guys, man. I love them because they're like, I've worked in a jail for the last like 15 years of my life, and the service crew guys are exactly like 30-year veteran jail guards. Like they're sick of dealing. They're sick of putting up with shit, and they, you get a 20-year-old with dad's credit card, bought him a $100,000 boat, and they don't have any concept of how to drive it and just shit kick it through all the waves, and then they just drop it all off at the service trailer and be like, can you just fix this?
Yeah, fix it. Like on their phone, they just drop it off and like leave on their phone. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. I love
Yeah,
hanging around there and talking to those boys.
Yeah, they never seem too pleasant.
Dude, I totally get it. Like I've seen it before too, and man, it was so funny. One of the at St. Lawrence, I had the old Garmin guy. He's a gristled old veteran, Daryl, and I was waiting on him and hanging around, and one of the other guys, I got a hold of him, one of the techs that wasn't there, and he didn't know I was listening, and like the Merc guy called him, and he had a brand new baby just screaming, crying, like on the phone in the background, and he didn't know I was standing there, and Buddy answered it, and he's like, "Who's that? It sounds like an angler." It's like, oh yeah, you've seen her all.
Oh yeah.
They are pretty. They put on a show right away, but once you talk to them a little bit, maybe give them a little tip afterwards, they're really good guys. So
yeah, they're the best, and they know when you try to make an effort and try to fix the stuff yourself, like you're toting around with tools, like, if you don't know how to do a software update by now, like don't be going to the service trailer and crying. Like at least go through those steps before you go there, and that's always the first thing they do, because lots of people just don't. They just drop her off and that's it. But man, pretty sweet to have those freaking crews there. Yeah, like at a AAA Derby, that's next level.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've had to use them a couple times this year, unfortunately. But yeah, no, it's awesome to have them there, because what a marketing ploy on Mercury too, calling it Guardian mode instead of Limp mode. Like that sounds badass. Limp mode or like hazard mode or anything like that. It just sounds like it's a piece of crap. Yeah, Pro XS. No, she's going into Guardian. I did hear, I don't know if this is a true story or not, but I heard the Mercury guy is he's a little happier because I heard he won like $500,000 on a scratch off.
Nice.
Whoa.
Is that true? Yeah, or no?
I don't know. I haven't heard that. I'm gonna ask him if I see him though.
Yeah, I heard the Mercury guy won like a ton of money on a scratch off. Could totally be false information. Do not, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, he's my favorite. He's my favorite of the service crew, I think. Absolute awesome. Beauty.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should probably talk about fishing or something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
What's Watts Bar? Oh my god! I swear I saw more bass on a boulder on Sunday than there are in Watts Bar Lake. I know we're not supposed to talk shit about the lakes, but like I looked at the Watts Bar Open results. There were like 50 zeros in a 120 boat tournament. Like I think catching one bass and putting some points up is going to be pretty big, to be honest.
Yeah, I was listening to that podcast with Matt and Bobby Lane, and I was like, is it really that bad? Like I've been watching a bunch of like YouTube, kind of trying to do my homework a little bit, and that seems really, really bad. Like I didn't know if it's that bad.
Yeah, like the tours have been there in like May and like, pretty primo fishing times. I don't know anything about the Tennessee River, but I mean, I know May's not the worst month to be there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Probably September is.
Yeah, I think didn't Patrick Waters win like an MPFL there or something? He had like in May, I think it was like 16, 14, and like 13 or something. I think that's what he won. Something like that, some weight.
And with 100 boats in May, so I think when you put 225 open guys out there, she'll be a little tight.
Oh yeah.
I mean the size limits are going to be massive. So I think there's actually quite a few smallmouth in there, but like an 18-inch smallmouth's pretty damn big one.
Yeah, and it's got to be
15-inch largemouth, man.
15-incher?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I don't want to catch them that big on good lakes. What am I going to do?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's like a.
So I know like Trey's been up there a little bit, and I asked him when he was up there. He's like, "Yeah, I caught a couple 15-inchers." I was like, "Are they 2-pounders?" He's like, "No, they're like the most unhealthy, like a pound." So I'm like, oh, "Okay, great." So 5 pounds. I'm shooting for 5 pounds on that one.
Yeah, there are some good ones though. Like you scroll down the results, and like there's some 5 to 7 pounders in there. Like the guy that won this Watts Bar Open on think it was like August 19th. He had 1590 with like a 6-pounder.
Yeah.
And then there was like everyone that was in the top 5 had weighed a big fish that was, 5 pounds or better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of those ones where you could literally goose egg the first day and be in the top 40 the next.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's not like the St. Lawrence. Like if you weigh in 2.5 on the St. Lawrence, you automatically just lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, I weighed in 2 of those the second day. Killed me. But yeah, it's like, what if you zero both days?
Ouch.
Yeah,
That's-
you got to catch one. You got to get the points. I don't really know how they if there's. I can't.
If you don't catch a bass, you zero. If you don't catch a bass, you zero. You get 0 points.
Yes,
no,
but if you do catch one bass, like you might be like 140th.
Yeah, you can get some points with one.
I can't imagine there's going to be much more than 180. Like if there was a 20, I think there was a 23 boat drop off for St. Lawrence, and everyone had that circle just as like a, bring the family, bring the hibachi, go have a damn good time on the best fishery in North America, arguably, and like boats are dropping off from that. I get it because of travel and everything, but like how many more are going to drop off before we go to Watts Bar? You always got any guesses on that?
I think I'd be surprised if we had over 150.
I'm thinking we're gonna be down to like 130, like realistically.
EQ
anglers.
Yeah. Okay. I think it'll be even lower in EQ. My guess is around 180 total in the field. Because even you did the Centrals last year; those were the lowest numbers of all the opens, and they still had. What did Ross Barnett still have, like 170 or something?
I think so.
Yeah, there'll be 130 EQ anglers and 100 jackpotters probably.
You think only 20 are going to drop off from St. Lawrence to Watts Bar?
Maybe more. You could be right. I mean, we might only have 100, I guess, and then 80 jackpotters, something like that. I don't know how many jackpotters are going to go to that lake. That's horrible, though.
Yeah, like why would you? I mean, if you live there might be like 20 or 30, or that's even probably a high number of people that think they can hop in and win it. I guess like you can't make the classic or anything. Maybe a few elite. Well, the elite guys can't even jackpot it unless they did the whole series. They can.
Yeah, they can't. It doesn't help them. If elite guy were. No, unless they were close in points or something, but not, yeah.
Well, they already would have had to fish St. Lawrence and Bugs Island.
So I remember last year some guys were jumping in that they knew, okay, if they were like, what do they take to the classic, 40, 40, 45?
I think 48 total, but.
So if they were in at like 49 or 50, they were jumping in to try to win it, so it would move down. So they wouldn't take a different guy. They would go down a spot on the Elite Series.
Yeah, that's
so we got to make sure we need opens guys or division guys to win, because I think next up is Scott Martin, and he got in because Corey won the St. Lawrence River a couple years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
We do not need to help that guy get into the classic. Like,
no.
She's our circuit, can't be giving up any more classic bursts. And if you look at the payout as a whole, it gets close up to 100% if you calculate those minimum 10,000 classic bursts, and every local and elite that wins it takes her away. But we haven't had an elite win yet, but there's been a few locals for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the goal for the year. Nothing against Scott Martin, but you got to earn your way.
You're good, bro. You're good. You got enough going on. You got enough going on. Let us guys trying to jump in here, get some piece of pie here.
Oh yeah.
That's all. We'll all three just win the next 3. I'll take third on the next 2, and I'll just win Harris. How about that?
Okay, sounds good.
You said that's your least favorite lake in Florida?
Yeah, one of them.
Being from Florida, what do you think the bite's going to be like down there in October? There's like no I mean, there's not much history down there in October.
I really
Careful
don't know.
what you say, bud.
Yeah, I don't know 100%.
Come on.
I would tell you, I mean, my track record has not been good on the Harris chain, but I kind of went there before I had scope or any of that kind of stuff. And I kind of, Texas, if I didn't move to Texas and start guiding and stuff, I feel like it's helped me kind of just hone in all my skills and become a better angler. Because when you grow up in Florida, like, dude, you don't ever turn your graphs on. Like, you don't graph anything. You fish 3 feet or less. I've fished Okeechobee and Kissimmee, and a few times you fish shell bars and brush piles in Kissimmee in the summer. But I mean, typically I'm flipping a jig or throwing a frog or swim bait or some jig or something, like, so moving to Texas. So I guess I haven't been to Harris since I've gotten a lot better with my electronics and side scan and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to go out there and try to learn it all and figure out Harris again, because I kind of know where I can go get bit shallow, or I kind of have that idea. Because summer Florida fishing October, that's grinders, it's 5-6 bites, and I've dealt with that a lot, so I'm kind of comfortable fishing those grinder events.
We got a couple grinders coming up, it sounds like. You should be good.
Yeah. They're extra stressful in this thing. I didn't know how stressful these opens would be. Gosh, got more grays than I've ever had, and oof.
Oh yeah, buddy, I whipped out the Just for Men the other day. First time at 34 years old. That's doing her, man. That's reaching.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm right there with you. I did it the other day too. I got to get like content pictures and I had this profile, like Oakley's been a sponsor of mine for a while, and I was taking photos, and I was like, that is terrible. That is terrible. Like, you're too young to have all these gray hairs.
Oh man, the push for me was the pictures from the St. Lawrence. I was like, I look like Santa Claus. I look like fucking Santa Claus on the stage, like straight white beard. I was like, you need to tighten it up, man.
Oh man, I was mad. I went down there towards the boundary, and I scoped forever, a couple of days, and I could only catch like 15 to 18 pounds, and I was like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure it out, man. Kudos to you for figuring that deal out down there.
Oh, thanks, man. That was the only tournament I've ever had info for in my whole life, because Gussie's been there so many times before the cutoff. He's like, hey man, you got a good chance, like, take this shit. I'll give you all my stuff. He gave me his whole, history there. And I was like, I felt dirty about it. And I know it happens all the time. Like, I did. I was like, you dirty, greasy bastard, I felt like. And I got down there and I started on near the lake the first day, just because that's where the boys were staying, and then I was moving places because I'm gonna go stay up by Ogdensburg. And I only caught like 10 or 12 bass, but I had like 26 pounds. I was like, okay, cool, like, the river will be fine. I'll go figure out. Well, my boat goes 57 miles an hour and it's 80 miles away, like, so I went up by the river for 3 days and just grinded it, and I had all his dots, which were obviously good at some point, and I couldn't get past the waypoints. Like, when you're just looking at a straight break, like a straight ledge, and there's 10 blue dots on it, how do you drive past those and go find 10 more? Like, boulders don't move. No. And I just, I'd found a couple spots on my own, and a couple of his had fish, and I was just like, this isn't enough. And on the last day of practice, I went back down to the mouth of the lake. So I hadn't been there in 3 days, and caught another 24, 25 pounds, still not many bites, and was just like, yeah, we got to do her. But I think that place is freaking overrated, to be honest. And I shouldn't say that after catching 70 pounds of smallmouth there. Like, the size is great, but I'm used to like banger numbers up, smallmouth fishing up here. And I didn't see anything like that. So obviously the lake's still banging, but.
Yeah, no, it was, my biggest smallmouth I caught was on Wheeler. I caught like a 3.9 on Wheeler. That was my biggest smallmouth ever until I went up to,
I thought OHIV has giants. Luke Duncan had the damn state record in there, or like world record it might have been.
I don't know where they've gone, what's happened to them, but they're like non-existent. I don't know. At least I can't catch them. But
I can't believe that place is still pumping them. Like we had a guy from up here. He's like, I'm going down to OHIV. I was like, cool, you're 3 years too late. And he went down there. He's like, I got a 10-pounder. We got 1,000,000 4-pounders. Like said it was awesome.
yeah, no, it's wild. It's wild.
How?
I just caught like, I don't know, a couple of days ago when I was there, I had a trip and they left early and I got to sneak out and go out there by myself. I caught like one almost 10 on a Demiki, like this big. Like it was just cool, and like 8-pound. I was just messing around. I was like, let me just mess around out there in the summer, caught one on Demiki in like 30 feet. But you see, I mean, I probably saw, no joke, 50 double digits that day. Just they won't bite. You know, they're getting super smart. But
that's good though. I like that, like, you know, critters can adapt like that and kind of save their own asses, you know, because if all of them bit, there'd just be none left. Like,
oh yeah,
I think you're in Texas, so when they run out of bass, they just make more. But anywhere else, it's not a thing. So it's cool to see them like get lockjaw like that. And I know it's people hate it more than anything, but that's evolution and sustainability. So
oh yeah, there's another lake that's popping off too. That's pretty close that they're catching like 50-pound stringers almost every day. It's crazy.
Oh my God, we should go down there, Brucey. We should.
Yeah,
make
we got to go hone
trip.
our glide bait craft. Me and Brad are big glide baiters now. If you didn't,
or glide baiters.
I'll tell you what, post spawn on Ivy, you can still do it. I had a couple of clients come in from New Jersey this year and like got that. They had 3 days with me. They caught 2 over 11 on big swim baits, glide baits. It was pretty cool.
Oh my God, we gotta get down there, Brucey. We'll take the lawn down there so no one will know.
Yeah.
The old incognito. Everyone thought I lost all my sponsors because I have no wrap. And I'm just like, no, they're like, why'd you take a wrap off? I was like, it's a new boat. Like, just switched mid-season because the seasons up here are so different than down there. Like, you know, you usually get a new boat in June. That's like summertime, end of the year down there. Our ice comes off like May 10th up here. So
yeah, you're about to start winterizing your boat up there. They're about to all go on the shed.
Yeah, there's like a month left of derbs and fishing, and then we'll shoot some grouse for a couple of weeks, and then she's ice fishing for damn 6 months. So that's my motivation to make the elites, is I won't have to go ice fishing as much.
There you go. That's awesome.
But all right, man. Well, thanks for jumping on. That was that was as good as expected. I said before you hopped on that we kind of want to talk to folks from all walks of life, and you got a badass story. I'm sure there's a lot more to it, so hopefully we can get you on again here. And
I got a few cool other stories from. I kind of like fast forward through a lot, but I've lived a pretty fortunate life. I've just been I never say no to adventure. Anybody says, hey, you want to go do this? I'm like, yes. But now that I've got a fiance, we kind of slowed down that a little bit, but man, yeah, I'm excited. I hope, hopefully we can in this last little stretch strong, and we'll see each other on the Elite Series. Yeah,
bud. And hey, at Watts Bar, we got a good party house because it's going to be such a brutal lake. So, and we got that Saturday night where whatever, Sunday's a travel day. So we're going to have a little bit of a shaker on Saturday night. So if you're still in the region, look us up and we'll have a pint and do a little hydration in the morning, probably.
I'm definitely gonna bring you guys some of those packets for sure. So
that'd be awesome.
I'll get your number and we'll link up.
Yeah.
Well, Brucey's always staying with me. You can just give it to me. I'll hand it off to Brucey.
Gotcha. All right, Brad. I'll give it to him.
Brad will stick with the Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, yeah.
We can probably pour one in a Mountain Dew. See how that tastes. I haven't tried that.
I'm gonna pour one in Fiddler's Mountain Dew and see if he gets like flipping real quick. Like super fast.
One of them actually has. So one of them is actually like a healthy energy drink. It has green tea extract and L-theanine, so it's natural caffeine plus hydration. So it's like energy with no crash. So.
Oh, that sounds mint.
Yeah, that'll work. All right, buddy. You want to shout out your guide service or anything? Or are you busy enough?
No, never. I'm actually OHIV fishing. If you look at ohivfishing.com, October, November booked. I got a few dates in December. I've obviously haven't started January because we don't know our schedules. Like 2023, I haven't booked anything just because like scheduling, right? I don't want to do that, but also going to start getting back into the offshore stuff and start guiding and out of Venice. So if anybody into big red snapper, redfish, tunas, stuff like that, look me up too. I'll be starting to guide out of Venice.
Nice one. Multi-species guy, can do
That's
it
right.
all. All right, boys. Thanks, Ginge, for
Thank you guys
dialing
for
this
having
up.
me.
Thanks, Brett,
Oh,
for
yeah.
hopping on. Brad, we'll talk to you soon, buddy. Have a good night,
Guys,
everyone.
take it easy.
Yeah, good night, everyone.